Hey everybody, Larry Lawton here. I got a very important video, and it's going to be about solitary confinement, the whole cruel and unusual punishment, both in the United States and overseas. So we're going to do a little comparing about different systems. I know about the American system, so I'm going to be more on that, but I am going to be comparing it to the rules of the UN and a lot of other countries. Before I get started, please, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe, like, do whatever. Check out my book, Gangster Redemption. It's amazing. Go to Patreon, go to YouTube, go to Discord. We have a lot going on. All right, I want to get into this video, and let me tell you what happened to start. I got literally 100 pages. But I'll tell you what, it's been the hardest video I've done so far. All day long, I'm debating whether I want to do it or not. But I fight through this because it's my own therapy. Reading stories, understanding the law, what it's like in other countries, what it's like here, brought back a lot of bad memories, a lot of tough stuff, and I want to fight this so bad, and I think I'm gonna fight this with what we do with the action crew, because we gotta stop this, man. And I'm gonna tell you where we're at in this country, what's going on, the numbers. And like I said, I literally been for the last probably 4 to 5 hours deep into this. And somebody who knows it like me and can get deep into it, it brought up a lot of bad feelings. It's funny, I didn't shave, so when I didn't shave, I was touching my face, and it really reminded me of the hole a lot. As you can see, this picture right up here, that's me getting out of the hole. They gave me a new ID card, and you can see I had a beard on. Because you don't get to shave. Yes, they give you a razor now and then, but it's one fucking razor. You think I could shave my head, I could do things. I'm talking in the hole now. I'm not talking out of the hole where I could buy razors or get stuff off the commissary and buy better stuff so you don't rip your face up and stuff like that. So much has been hitting me and so much has been affecting me today. And I'm being honest, man, this is one of the roughest videos I did. And I went deep into this, and you're gonna learn more about solitary confinement and the hole and the rules and laws of the hole today than you ever thought you'd know. And I hope it just gives you a little perspective. It's funny, Teresa's helping me today, and we're researching, and we're at the conference table, and I asked her to read this and what your thoughts and this, and she said, Larry, she says, this is amazingly rough. She goes, are you gonna be all right to do the video? And I think I am. And even if I can't, I gotta fight through it. Being an educator or being a person that opens people's eyes mean a lot to me, and you know that. Well, I educate, and I want everybody here not to go to prison. I want people to make good choices. I want them to live life. I want them to have fun. I want them to have a lot of things. But we're gonna start out what the hole is. Now, how they classify the hole or solitary confinement is if you're locked in your cell 22 hours a day or more, confinement behind a solid steel door for 22 to 24 hours a day, severely limited contact with other human beings, infrequent phone calls or rare non-contact family visits, extremely limited access to rehabilitative or educational programming, grossly inadequate medical and mental health treatment, restricted reading material and personal property, physical torture such as hog tying, restraint chairs, forced cell extractions, no touch torture such as sensory deprivation, permanent bright lighting, extreme temperatures, and forced insomnia, chemical torture such as stun grenades and stun guns, and we're going to get into that, sexual intimidation, and other forms of brutality. I experienced most of that. I was in the hole, if anybody doesn't know this, and they haven't known my whole story. I was in prison from 1996 to 2007. I spent 3 years, a little more than 3 years in the hole. My longest stretch in one stretch was 11 straight months. When I tell you, you start going crazy, you do. You're hearing people scream, mental patients. It drives you fucking crazy, and it doesn't get old. It doesn't you get used to it. You go fucking crazy. You pace a cell. The cells are 7 by 10 or 8 by 10 is the average center. So think of it this way, everybody. Go in your bathroom right now. Now stay there for 11 months with a bed, a toilet. I love it too. In some holes I was in, they'd have a shower in the hole. So you'd think, oh wow, this is great, you got your own shower. But it actually is worse because you get less social interaction with anybody else. They don't have to take you out of your cell 3 days a week. And you know, you might meet somebody, talk to somebody, even talking to the guard. You don't do that. That's a little more isolation. And what they do too is fuck with you by torturing you, by shutting the cold water off and making it boiling water. You can't take a shower. Or they'll shut the hot water off and it's freezing. I went 14 days without taking a shower. And when I tell you, you smell yourself. It's terrible, man. And you're trying to take a bird bath in a stainless steel sink. So I'm going to describe to you the whole and then we're going to get into other prisons and countries. But let me give you a little breakdown of the whole. The whole, solitary confinement, special housing unit. What is it like? Cells are about 6 to 8 feet by 10 feet in size, slightly bigger than an average bathroom or elevator. People are held in their cells for 22 and a half to 24 hours per day. When let out, it is into a small, solitary outdoor cage with no recreational equipment and sometimes nobody else. No group activities or congregating with others. Very few activities or programs. Limited visitors, and then only through a thick glass barrier with no physical contact. And that's kind of like giving you an idea. And that's why I told you I wanted you to go. Now, what the UN, now let me give the UN, the United Nations, they came out with a thing called the Mandela Rule. That's Nelson Mandela, who spent 20-something years in the hole in South Africa for apartheid. The UN give you, they set boundaries. And the boundaries in the UN report say that no child under 18 is supposed to ever be put in the hole. No person with mental illness is supposed to be put in a hole. And in the United States, that's about 25% of the prison population to start with. So there's where we go. Now, you'd think, how could somebody be in a hole for years? There was a guy, the longest person who ever spent time in the hole. Now, I thought it was gonna be a guy named Silverman, who was the head of the Aryan Brotherhood. He killed people, and he killed a guard, he killed a lieutenant, killed a guy named Cadillac. He was in the hole for, I don't know, 35 years maybe, I don't know what it was. But this guy, Albert Woodfox, freed after 43 years. 43 years in the hole. They put him in the hole because they thought he was going to be an organizer. He was with they call it in Louisiana, Angola. He was with the three Black Panthers, and they thought he was going to. Their excuse was he was going to, get all the inmates together and all this kind of shit and start disrupting. So they're saying what he's going to do before he did it. 43 years in confinement. Let me tell you something, guys. I'm a social guy. That's why I like YouTube, what I do, and I answer, and I'm always interacting with guys on Discord, on whatever, Patreon. I do all that kind of shit. You know that. I'm a very social person. I can't listen, I went crazy. I acted out, and they fucked with me, and they came, and they concussion grenaded me, and they maced me, and they did so many things to me in the hole. And I almost think it was, when I acted out, it was because I wanted to be interacting with people, even getting beat up, even getting fucking thinking you're gonna die. I contemplated suicide, and I think I'm a very strong man. I'm getting fucking goosebumps just thinking back to some of the shit that I fucking did in prison. Now, the crap I did in prison, the hole in prison. And I was in the prison hole once for nothing, for fighting the abuses of people getting killed by the medical system in prison. And they wanted to shut me up. You all know I went to prison in the hole for masturbating. Who the fuck don't masturbate? In my own bed, not at a woman guard, not doing anything, in my own bed, nobody there. I'm in my bed reading a pornographic magazine, and a guard sees me through this little window on a count at 1 a.m. and puts me in solitary confinement in the hole. In fact, when I went down to the hole, the lieutenant even said, "What the fuck?" I mean, they couldn't even believe it. As of last year, just before the pandemic, there were 61,000 people in the hole. Now, let me give you what other countries are doing. But first, let me give you what the 8th Amendment of the United States Constitution. Now, if anybody knows anything about America, and if you don't, you could look it up on a computer. We have, I think, 27 amendments to the Constitution. Well, we had 10, and then we have 17 amendments were added after the fact. We had the first 10, the Bill of Rights, and the first 10 are the Bill of Rights, and we had the 8th Amendment to the Constitution states. The 8th Amendment to the United States Constitution states, excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishment inflicted. This amendment prohibits the federal government from imposing unduly harsh penalties on criminal defendants, either as the price for obtaining pretrial release or as punishment for crimes after conviction. Now, that's going to be very subjective. What's cruel and unusual punishment? Can you get a life sentence for a traffic ticket? Is that cruel and unusual? If it is, and if you believe it is, then what is? Is it 5 years cruel and unusual punishment for a traffic ticket? Is it a year? What do you believe it is? So it's very subjective. If a law is the law, and sadly, in the United States, every state uses solitary confinements for things that are not even a crime. Whether it's for, they think you're a gang member and they don't want you on the yard talking to someone, or they think you're, well, of course they could think you're gonna be escaping and they're gonna put you in the hole. Obviously fighting, and those are real things that happen, and there's a cruel part of the hole. Now, what constitutes cruel and unusual punishment? And how long can you go into the hole? Well, the United States, they have people in there, as you see, 43 fucking years. Many people over 10 years. At any given time, right now, there's 6,000 people with over a year in isolation. If that's not cruel and unusual, I don't know what is. Because you go fucking crazy. And I watched it, and I lived it, and when I think about it, it hurts me so much, because I was there when people would take feces out of their body and write demonic and put it on their face and do the sickest shit in the world, man. And you fucking smell it, you hear it, and you feel it. It's hard, brothers, man, I'm telling you. And let me give you the boundaries of other countries. Maybe it's your country. In Belgium, 8 days. 8 days is the maximum permissible duration in the hole. 8 days. In Finland, allows 14 days. Poland, England, and Wales allow 28 days. France and Estonia allow 45 days. And the max in any other country, Ireland allows up to 60 days. It costs about $75,000 a year to keep a person in solitary confinement. So it's not cost effective either. And it's proven not to deter crime, not to even keep things safe. If you leave prison from isolation like that 43-year-old, maybe he's 70, I think it is, so I don't think it's gonna matter. If you get a young kid who's in the hole, he goes to prison for 5 years, he gets a year in the hole near the end of his sentence, and he leaves prison from the hole, that man has a 76% chance of reoffending. 76. If you're from the prison yard, it's about 50%, depending on, there's a zillion studies, but I'm giving the general rule. So being in solitary confinement does no good for society. Cost, no good. And then I know I'm gonna get people to say, how do we handle people who need to go in the hole? Well, obviously, if somebody has a fight and you have to separate them, you need to put them in different spots, or maybe have a punishment spot that you need to put somebody. I get that, but at what length becomes too much? They say in all these reports, after 10 days in isolation, everything starts going. Anxiety, hypertension, not only hypertension, vision, cloudy memories. There's a zillion causes of what happens to a person after 10 days in isolation. You know, I kind of think I'm normal, but I have people tell me, Larry, you're not fucking normal. And I go, what do you mean? They go, no, you're normal, you're very grounded, you're very educated, but there's sometimes I could see your eyes, or certain things could make me look, and they go, man, you're the scariest dude I ever saw. And I don't see it in myself, but it's a defense mechanism, or it's a part of me that comes back. But a new report from the ACLU and Human Rights Watch, solitary confinement can cause, especially in juveniles, because the brain is developing, a lot of you young people, extreme psychological, physical, and developmental harm for children who are still developing and more vulnerable, are more vulnerable to irreparable harm. The risks are magnified, particularly for kids with disabilities or histories of trauma and abuse. You know, reading a kid here made me fucking sick. You know, the shift in solitary confinement came, they really went wacko in the 80s when the tough on drugs bullshit came about. And they flooded the prison systems. They put more money in them. They went fucking total industrial complex. You know, it drives me nuts. People complain about the virus. Why aren't we complaining about something that's fucking hurting the society? And we're the worst in the world. Here is a kid, 13 years old. 13 years old. I'm gonna read you this story, and you're gonna fucking probably get sick here. There's this kid who's 13 years old. He lit a trash can on fire. They throw him in prison, and they put him in the hole. 13 years old. And his 5th day, he hung himself. 5th day, he hung himself. So if you're 13 or you're a young kid or you're young out there or have kids, this shit's real. This shit's fucking real. Kid lit a fucking garbage can on fucking fire. I don't give a fuck. He did not belong in the hole, isolated. The parents called, fucking haven't heard from the kid. He was in the whole fucking hole for his protection. And he hung himself. You know, isolation is a bad thing, people. It fucking really, really is. It's one of the things that probably hurt me the most when I talk about, and when I hear that other countries are doing better, it fucking drives me fucking just insane. Here's this, you're gonna love this. Solon Peterson, a 13-year-old boy with attention deficit disorder, hyperactivity disorder, set fire to a rubbish bin at a school near Shreveport, Louisiana, one Friday in February 2019. We're not talking long ago, people. He was taken to a juvenile detention center, and after misbehaving there, was put in a solitary cell. His father, Ronnie Peterson, was allowed to see him a few days later. I could talk to him through a little bitty 4-inch window, said Mr. Peterson. You could tell it was kind of a breaking him down, being by himself. He had been punching the wall, and his knuckles, I remember, were a little bit bruised. Imagine, captured Solon Peterson. Mr. Peterson was told Solon would soon be released, but after 5 nights in solitary, the boy was still in his cell. I got a phone call at 2 o'clock in the morning saying that he was dead, says his father. Solon had hanged himself at the age of 13. You kind of go numb, says Mr. Peterson. We had no inkling that he was ever going to hurt himself. I mean, he was a normal teenage boy. Solitary confinement for juvenile offenders has been banned in federal prisons in the U.S., but in many states and local facilities, including juvenile detention centers, isolation routinely used. Solon's grave stands near Shreveport with his ice hockey stick planted at the ground next to it. Changes to the use of solitary confinement are coming slowly across America, but not fucking fast enough. New York did just ban solitary confinement, I think even for anybody under 21. And I think they're trying to do away with it totally. Again, it's not happening fast enough. I got fucking a zillion pages here. How in the fucking world is the United States so far behind? They say they're doing shit, but they're not doing it fast enough. I don't know what the fucking issue is. President Obama in 2015 is the only president to this day who's ever went to a federal prison. Give him kudos for that. And he went there, and after he got out, they did a whole study, and they wanted to stop solitary confinement. Do you think they did? Nah, nobody did. Nobody fucking stopped solitary confinement. So it kind of pissed me off. We could stop this shit with a pen. We could stop this shit with fucking laws. We could stop this shit if we wanna. You know, I know people who get incarcerated are the ones left behind. And I know they did some people some brutal things. And I know it's a hard topic. But as a man who I believe I was always a decent person, didn't hurt anybody in no robberies or anything, and I was in the hole for 3 years. And I'm sure my fucking brain ain't fucking right. I'm sure when they fucking do my autopsy, they're gonna find a fucking mental case. And I get it. I do get it. And I will sit and debate all of this with any person who wants to come on my fucking show. If you're an official at any prison, I mean, we have wardens. I'm reading about wardens who say this is fucking cruel and unusual, and saying they call these places the hellhole, or One warden described ADX prison as a clean hell. As a clean hell. I know this has been a long one. It's been a rough one. I got through it. You know my feelings on this. I don't think anybody with a non-violent offense. First of all, I think non-violent offenses, we have to find more inventive ways to correct behavior than throwing people in prisons. We're still the most barbaric country in the world. You know, I love America, but I'm sick of it a little bit. And I'm damn sure sick of when this country talks about any other country's human rights, because it's bullshit. We better stop fucking talking about any other country's human rights. I don't care what it is. We need to stop talking about shit with human rights until we fix our own. And that's my view on this. Hope you learned a little bit about solitary confinement. Comment below. You know I'm going to be answering. And I hope to see you here. And I hope we come out with a great Larry Lawton action crew item so we can try to make change. Let's try, people. I want to thank you guys. You guys give me some great encouragement. But thank you for all the good emails. I really mean that. It helps. Thanks for everything you do. I appreciate you. Please like, subscribe, pass it around, do what you do. And please stay safe. Make good choices. And the best way to fucking fix the solitary confinement and fix prison in itself is not go. I know we're an authoritarian and a lot of shit I'm going to talk about in other videos. But please make good choices. Live your life, have fun, but make good choices. Have a great day, everybody. God bless.